Hello. Okay, I am live. I'm Gabriel, and this is Learning English Path. Welcome to the channel if you are new, and welcome back if you are a regular. Okay, so before I give you this one simple trick to become more fluent in English, and by the way, it's not the only simple trick to become more fluent in English, but it is one trick, and it's pretty simple. Okay, so before that, if you are new, please do subscribe and get my 101 free 101 songs to learn English, which is a free PDF that's 125 pages long with many worksheets on 101 different songs, the best songs you can use in order to learn English with. Okay, so there is more than one trick, and I named this video Learn One Simple Trick because it's a popular title on YouTube. Did you know that? And so I want this message to reach out to as many people as possible, because I was sent a message by one of my students on Udemy just 2 days ago, and he asked me, so Gabriel, I have been trying to become more fluent. I read a book that was about thinking in English and becoming more fluent this way. Now, that's a good first step, by the way. Thinking in English is always good, no matter what you're trying to improve, because it removes that translation block that you have in your mind. And so he asked me this and said that he's really having trouble becoming more fluent, which is his goal, he said. And what I want to make clear is, first of all, fluency is relative. Fluency is relative. What does this mean? Well, the definition of fluency, and I got this on dictionary.com, it is spoken or written with ease. Okay, to be able to speak or write smoothly, easily, and readily. Okay, so if we take this definition, then it really depends on many things. So that's what I mean by relative. It depends on the situation you are in. If you go to a supermarket in a Western country and you want to buy something, maybe you've practiced doing this many times in English class, in which case you're going to sound fluent. You're not trying to talk about science with the cashier at a supermarket. And so the only thing that that person knows about your English language when she's speaking to you is that you are able to easily communicate with her. So in that situation, you're fluent, okay? So there's that. But then if you go to another situation, like, for example, if I go and try and talk with a rocket scientist, I'm not going to be very fluent, okay? Even though I'm a native English speaker, I'm not going to sound very fluent. And it will depend, it will vary which situation you're in, will determine how fluent you are in that situation. So there's situation. There's also the people that you're talking with. Maybe you're talking with other non-native speakers, and they might not know as much English as you. In that sense, that's going to be easy for you, right? You're going to sound more fluent. You're going to speak more fluently because you're not putting all this effort into trying to reach this native level speech, right? You only have to communicate with the people who you are with. So that's the fluency level that you need to reach. Okay? So think about it. Who are you talking to? What situation do you want to be in? So it also depends on where you are, the place. Okay? If you have learned British English and then you go to the USA, well, you're going to be able to use most of the same language, but in certain situations you will be kind of less fluent. The same if you go to the UK, but you've learned American English. The same if you go to India and you're speaking English in India, but you've learned how to speak in Brazil. Okay? So that determines your fluency. Also, time. Now, I mean, now this might sound crazy, but it's true. Imagine you take a fluent English speaker from 100 years ago, and we have a time machine and we bring them to today. That person is not going to be a fluent, is not going to be as fluent. Okay, I'm not saying fluency is a certain thing. So, not going to be as fluent as most of the people that they are with. Okay, fluency is relative. And one more, it's really okay. Let me give you an analogy. Okay, this is the analogy that I gave the person I was messaging with. Okay, fluency is uncountable. I want you to think of fluency as an uncountable word. All right. So, like water, water is uncountable. So, you have, let's say, this is your ability to communicate in English. And fluency can be the water. Okay. Now, maybe in some situation, maybe you go to the hairdressers. You know, the hairdressers, they love to talk to you while they cut your hair, right? Speaking of which, I kind of need a haircut. So they love to talk to you while they cut your hair. And so maybe in this situation, your fluency level is like this. Now, that's not to say you are not fluent. No, there's never going to be a time when you go from being not fluent to suddenly being fluent. It's not a yes and no binary thing, okay? It's not like you go to bed and you're not fluent yet, but then the next morning you have one more English lesson and now you're fluent. No, the fluency is like water. It comes in degrees. And maybe you have two people, right? I've got two jugs, and this person has a lot of fluency in this situation, and this person has just a little. But still, you're never going to reach up to the top. You know why? Because there are more than 170,000 words in the English language. I don't know half of them, and I'm a native speaker. So becoming fluent is not something that, it doesn't mean you suddenly know all of English and you can speak perfectly. It doesn't happen. Okay? For the rest of your life, you will be on this path of English fluency. And that's a good thing because it means you can enjoy it, knowing that there's no destination to get to. Okay? So, this person who messaged me on Udemy, they said specifically that their problem was that they would get to a point where they wanted to communicate something, but they didn't have the vocabulary. Okay, they stopped speaking. He stopped speaking because he didn't know a particular word. And vocabulary is a big part of fluency. It's actually more important than grammar is. Because if you know the words, then you can still communicate with relative ease. You don't necessarily need all the grammar to be understood. So vocabulary is always more important in that sense, okay? When you're talking about communication. So this was a vocabulary issue, vocabulary within fluency. And so my simple trick that I gave him, my advice was this: carry a notebook, a little notebook with you. See how small this is? You can fit it into your pocket. It's not a big thing that you need to carry around all the time. So carry this notebook, and every time that you're in a conversation and you realize, oh, I wish I knew how to say this, I wish I knew how to say that, then you don't worry about it in that conversation, okay? If the chance is gone, the chance is gone. But that doesn't mean that you won't be able to improve next time. So what you do is, if you don't have a computer or whatever, maybe you do it on your phone, right? You can also do this on your phone. You write down the word in your language, or the phrase in your language that you want to be able to say in English. And then at the end of the day, you get home, you open your notebook, and you find out the words on your computer or on your phone, okay? And you take a few minutes every day to quickly learn those new words. Do a few simple memorization tricks. Okay, it doesn't have to be difficult. If you have just 3, maybe 5 words or expressions you want to know, remember them. And then the next time you're in the same kind of conversation, use them. And it doesn't have to be the exact same conversation. Maybe you can use it in another situation, right? The key is to use it. And so that way you're constantly improving. What you're doing is you are constantly filling your jug with more water, okay? So each time you do this, you put another few drops in the jug. The next day, another few drops in the jug. After a week, maybe you'll have this much more fluency in the same situation. And that is how you become more fluent in English. You will never reach the top, because English is always evolving as well, by the way. You'll never reach the top, but you can always improve. And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes the path enjoyable. All right? So if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to Learning English Path. Have lots of videos, lots of courses. Speaking of courses, if you want to really take your fluency to the next level, I do have a course on that, and I have to remember to put it in the description. So look in the description and you will find English Fluency course by me. You can get that on Udemy. It's more than 3 hours long to really take your English fluency to the next level. All right. Okay, my friend. And I do have a new course coming out soon. More about that later. All right. On how you can learn English in many more new ways, new and interesting ways. I'm looking forward to this one. 50 new ways to learn English with. All right. Keep learning, my friend, and keep going.